My name is Shanna Mccormick, and I'm on the Christ James Show.
You know it. The Christ James.
Shanna.
Free City. Hey, guys. Welcome to the Christ James Show. We here with Shanna Mccormick, Vh1 Sorority sisters. Let's start with the topic of what happened with the show, like as far as, because I know you're a part of the team, the Delta team, right? Correct? So let's begin with starting with what happened. Like, take us on a journey of how sorority sisters became. How did it come?
Well, honestly, I don't know exactly how the idea came about, but I will say that somehow I was connected to the show through one of my sorority sisters at the time. She reached out to me. She said, "Hey, Sor, there's this woman. She's looking for women to participate in this reality show. I thought of you," and so she connected me to this woman who happened to be an AKA. I spoke with the woman over the phone, and long story short, she got me an interview for the show, and the woman who did my interview actually was an AKA.
Really? Wow.
So, it was through the Greek network that I even got on the show.
So is it really beef with the AKAs and the Deltas? Like, some people want to know, like, is there beef? Is it step beef? Is it, like dramatic beef, or is it who's richer than who? Like,
well, there is. It's I think it's a playful beef.
Competitive type thing.
Yeah, considering the history of Delta and AKA, just going back to the history of that, the 22 founders of Delta used to be members of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and they left and they broke off and they formed Delta Sigma Theta. So, and that is a well-known fact in not only the Greek community, but you can find it on the web. So that's why there's this tension. There's always been this tension between Delta and AKA.
It makes sense now.
But some people take it seriously, and some people just kind of poke at it and make fun of it. So So we know that Delta is like majority African American, Black. What made you say, "Hey, look, I want to be a part of this"? Because it's like you're breaking the racial barrier, and it's a stigma with a Caucasian female going into the Deltas. Like, what made you say, "Hey, look, I want to become a Delta. Let's break this racial barrier"? Obama is the president, the first Black president. Hey, let me be like one of the first Caucasian, Delta pledgers. Well, actually, so when I was the first person in my family to go to college, I never had intentions on being in a sorority, honestly.
Wow.
And when I got to college, I really didn't know where I fit in or anything like that. And
a lot of us,
so just trying to adjust. And long story short, I founded an organization on my campus dedicated to HIV and AIDS awareness. And the first women who came to me when I was founding my organization were the Deltas, and they were like, "Hey, if you need any help, this is something we're passionate about." And so, I met Delta at the foot of service. That's where I met Delta. And then my degree is in African American Studies. And so just learning throughout my studies, a lot of the women that I looked up to and who were heroines of the civil rights movement were Deltas. And then as well as that, I felt like the women that God put in my life, aside from my family members, a lot of them were Deltas in my collegiate career. And I was like, wow, these are phenomenal women. And so I want to be a part of that. And don't get me wrong, going into Delta, I was like, I must be crazy, because Delta is like the pro-Black sisters. I'm just saying, that's the truth, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so, went into Delta. I knew that the race issue would be an issue. However, I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into. However, one of the first white Deltas, not necessarily the first, she actually crossed at Tougaloo in 1964.
Wow.
Her name's Joan Trumpower. She was a freedom rider. She participated in the sit-ins, all of that stuff. So, it's nothing new. but I'm you know, I just wanted to be a Delta. That was it. Not necessarily just to break the racial barrier, but because the women that I looked up to.
You admire people.
So it had a lot of drama on the show as well as good things on the show. Who was one of your favorite people on the show? As far as like, who you clicked with now?
Yeah, who you?
Well, I actually get along with it. We all honestly, we all get along, to be honest. We have a group meet. We talk, pretty fairly almost every day.
Okay.
You know, the show, going through that together, it was kind of like a pledging process, because you don't get to pick and choose who your sisters are, but you have to learn everyone's personalities. You may have someone you don't like or you clash with or whatever, but at the end of the day, we all were in this together. Absolutely. So I will say that, you know, we all get along, maybe closer to some than others, but...
Let me ask you about your experience. So after you decided you wanted to become a Delta, now you're a Delta. Tell us a little bit about that experience while being a Delta.
Well, it was, for me, because I try to have a positive outlook on life in general, it was a great experience. I cannot tell you the things that, I mean, one of my then sorority sisters opened the door for me to be on the show, you know, and so for me, Delta did so many great things for me. You know, when I didn't have a place to stay, my sorority sisters opened their homes up to me. When I didn't have money, when I didn't have food, when I didn't have clothes, that's what a sorority is supposed to be.
I agree.
And then, you know, even through the hard times, you know, when, you know, the sisterhood, things were hard, you know, I felt as if our sisterhood could get through it. You know, that's the Delta that I believed in. Unfortunately, you know, Delta felt that it was necessary to expel us, Deltas who participated in the show.
Wow.
But being a Delta, and for me, my experience being a non-black Delta, it was very particular and peculiar at times, simply because for some people the race issue is not an issue. They don't care if you're a Delta and you're their soror.
Yeah.
But for some people, no matter how much good you do, if you're not black, then that's a problem for them. And you know what? That's okay, because the sororities were founded during a time when black women and black men, you know, because the fraternities were not allowed to join white organizations.
Okay.
So that is why the sororities and fraternities were formed. So therefore, it's kind of like, what are you doing here thing. But you know, like I said, I try to let the good outweigh the bad, and you know, Delta overall was a phenomenal experience for me, and I'm very thankful for that experience.